Hey, welcome everybody. It's Wednesday morning. You know what that means. It's another episode of Come On Ref. I'm your host, Chad Bryan, with my co-host, Aidan Vance. Aidan, say hello.
What's good, everybody? Happy to be here. Happy for another Wednesday. Let's go.
Listen, we got a great show for you. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Guardians. They're off to a 4-2 start. Things are going well there. I want to talk about the men's Final Four. Cavs, 50 wins for the first time since the early 90s without LeBron James. That's fun. They're going to be wrapping up the 4 seed. We can get to them in a little bit. But
No doubt.
first, let's talk about the big ticket news item, the women's Final Four, the women's championship game, LSU and Iowa. But maybe we should mention first.
Yeah.
Now that these games are over, I feel like we can talk these teams up. Aidan, we killed some teams by mentioning how good they were this year.
Um.
Is there a come on ref college basketball curse?
To be fair, I didn't say Purdue. You know, I
Okay.
didn't boil it up. No, I'm just kidding. But the
You did
rest of
not
the
boil
teams,
her up.
yeah. I mean, we killed them. I mean, South
Yeah.
Carolina has been the best team in women's college basketball for the past two years.
Yeah.
Not even, not even close.
Nope.
Bama looked easily like the best team with the best player in college basketball. Houston looked really good with Sasser coming back, and then it's just it's just bad. I mean, I guess we have the Drake curse kind of, bet on the team and they
Yeah. I
lose.
mean, I'm
So
looking at the team. Look, there's some really good basketball teams that we come. That's some carnage right there. Like we talked about
yeah,
how I talked about how Purdue would get to the Final Four easily
no
because they
doubt.
had, 8'9" Zach Edey in the middle. That didn't work it out. That just didn't work at all. Again, South Carolina was 32-0. I mean, they looked like
Yeah,
I don't know. They looked like they were going
they
to
weren't.
steamroll right through Iowa
Yeah,
and Caitlin Clark, and that didn't happen. So, yeah, maybe there's a come on ref college basketball curse. But the season's over, so we can talk about these teams now. You don't have to be
no
afraid
doubt.
for us to mention your team's name. Um, we're good to go. Uh, Listen, LSU just completely dominated Iowa. They outsized them in that game. They had more tenacity. Um, I don't know. What did you think? I mean, did you get to watch most of the game?
Yeah, I did. What I thought was the game started and uh, LSU kind of shot the lights out.
Mhm.
Um, they had a girl go 7 for 7 in the first half, 5 for 5 from three. So I mean, to start a half like that is pretty decent.
Yeah, it's
Um,
decent.
they also had a decent amount of people in foul trouble early in the half, and for those girls to come off the bench and play that well for them is huge. And
Yeah.
this the size and the
Yep.
defense.
Yeah.
I know Caitlin Clark had 30. Obviously, I think she's the best player in college basketball. But it was a 9 for 22 night for her,
Yeah.
4 for 15 from three. It wasn't her best work.
No.
And Iowa just couldn't get stops. Angel Reese, averaged
Yeah.
what I think 23 and 15 this year.
Yeah.
Maybe the best defender in college basketball from protecting the paint and
Yeah.
steals. So
For sure.
I mean, they just dominated them. What do you think?
They did. I think they were motivated. I think it's funny because I see the stink. Like everybody's up in arms, because it seemed like LSU players were kind of having fun during the game. I mean, what do we not want kids to have fun anymore? I mean, was any of that
Um,
really that incendiary? Like Caitlin Clark's been doing the John Cena thing all year, right? I mean,
yeah,
we know that.
no doubt.
Obviously, a lot of people wanted to see it. I mean, it set viewership records. I don't know if you saw 9.9
Yeah,
million viewers. I think it peaked at like 12.6, but that made it the most watched event ever on ESPN Plus, men's, women's, whatever. And there's a whole list of sporting events that eclipsed for viewership, records. We don't have to get into it, but yeah, I think LSU was just a little bit motivated. I think, I don't know if they didn't like what Caitlin Clark was doing. I think it was just as an athlete, sometimes you take things personally, and sometimes I think to get motivated, you need to take things personally. I know
right.
I was the same way when I played. I tried to make myself as mad as I could sometimes for big games. I'd make stuff up, just to I don't know, get a little extra motivation, that little chip on your shoulder. And I thought LSU they played the entire game like they had that chip never went away. And I see no pride. Man, they're having fun. I thought it was
Yeah,
great. I thought Angel Reese was fantastic. I just what an event! Like it was so much fun to watch, man. I don't know.
No doubt. I think it's been talked about enough by everybody. Um,
Ad nauseum.
both sides, the people who had issues with it, or the people who are saying it's because of this reason, it's because it's girls doing it instead of guys, or
Yeah.
racial thing, right? We don't need to get into it here. It's been
Yeah.
talked about. If you want to go look at it, there's plenty of people to look at. That's
Plenty of
been
divisive
talked about.
topics when it comes to
I
this.
do
I mean,
think
it's yeah.
that calling a 20-year-old a classless piece of this, or calling her a B word, or any of that is childish. I think if you're a 40-year-old man calling that somebody, a 20-year-old, that, what were you doing at 20? That's my kind of
Right.
thing about it. But
Right.
other than that, the girls talked about it. Caitlin Clark talked about it on ESPN. Angel talked about it with Brandon Marshall.
Hmm.
They called it they called it being competitive.
Yeah.
So the rest of you guys can leave it at that. That's all it is.
That's
Leave
it.
it at that.
Don't we want a good competitive game? I mean, don't we want
Yeah,
people who want to win on both sides? And I mean,
no
it's
doubt.
perfect, right?
Yeah, and
It's
like
perfect.
shout out to Caitlin Clark. Obviously, she brought a lot of eyes,
Hmm.
to that national championship. So did LSU though. They have a lot of like close to celebrity type players with Angel Reese.
Yeah.
She's super famous on TikTok.
Yep.
LJ Johnson was on America's Got Talent, I think. She raps. She's really good. She got signed with Jay Z.
Awesome.
So they brought a lot of eyes to women's college basketball, and it was a lot of fun. So
Absolutely.
I just think people should monitor how they talk about stuff and
Yeah.
who you're talking about. You're talking about kids, really. You're talking about 20-year
Yeah.
old immature kids. So
Yeah. And
there's
I don't like when people use the distinction. Well, they're 18. They're an adult. This is what they signed up for. No one signed up for this kind of abuse, man. No one signed up to be talked about like this on social media.
yeah,
These are strong young women, man. Like
no doubt.
all these girls, anybody who's going to play a Division I sport is a strong, independent person, right?
Yeah,
Let's let them be independent. Let them be themselves. Like I don't need everyone to fall into some kind of mold. I want everybody to be an individual, man. That's the most fun to watch, right? Like we
no
always get
doubt.
mad when athletes have no personality. They never say anything in their press conferences. They never, they're never honest. They're never, and then when they're honest, we dump all over them. But we don't like as fans. What do we really want? I mean, I just stop diminishing athletes in general. Stop. There's a whole subtopic of this. I mean, we've talked about the DMs, but it seems to be a lot of times in girls, sports, women's sports, whatever it is. For some reason, the male fans kind of diminish, and I don't know, man. I wish it didn't happen. I think that
Yeah,
hopefully, maybe this game and this just all the news around it can kind of, like you said, it brings eyes to women's college basketball, which I think is a great thing. Maybe on the not so great side, something that again, brought some eyes to something that we've been looking at for, it seems like every championship game or every big game since, I don't know, maybe the Super Bowl or even before that. Officiating again was kind of at the forefront of this one.
yep, no doubt.
Um, there were some questionable calls. I don't know, like I don't think anything was necessarily game changing. I don't think that I don't think the game would have turned out any differently. I don't know. I didn't think there was like one big call. Like everyone points to the Super Bowl, the pass interference that changed the game. I don't think there was one call that changed the game in this one. Do you?
No, I don't. I think LSU was the better team that day, and that happens. But
Yeah.
I do think some of the stuff was a little ridiculous. The Caitlin
Yeah.
Clark tech was ridiculous.
Yeah. And
Um,
we're going to look at that. Actually, we can, I mean,
yeah.
should
Um,
that have been a technical foul?
no, that's just you just throw the ball to a place where you think a ref is. That's
Yeah,
normal basketball stuff.
that's
And
exactly it. That's what I said.
yeah,
And 9 times out of 10, when you've got a 3 official system, there's going to be an official on that baseline.
baseline. Yeah,
And Caitlin Clark she's an experienced enough player. I mean, I tried to watch this a couple. I feel like I watched it a couple hundred times, just to see if I could pick up any kind of intent, or maybe if I missed something that happened before
yeah,
with her and an official. But I will say this: I mean, it did kind of get Iowa into a little bit of foul trouble. That was her 4th foul.
yeah. It was.
Obviously, a dynamic player like Caitlin Clark, you don't want to be living on the edge. You don't want to have 4 fouls when you're down, 8, 9, whatever it was at the time, to a team like LSU. But again, they missed both free throws. I mean, for what it's worth, I just don't know that it changed the game that much. But
No
you
doubt.
can see it here. I mean, it just looks like she
There's
just grabbed the
nothing like
ball and just, okay, there's an official on the baseline, toss it down there, right?
there's nothing there, and there was a lot going on with like Kim Mulkey getting on the court and stuff and running into referees also that you could have easily called a technical before you called that a technical. I think that is kind of whack. Um, uh, they could have just been better and let it go. I mean, there's nothing there. It wasn't like she's throwing the ball into the stands. Like she just pretty much
Yeah.
dropped it off. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
She
a
really
that's
just, I
a
mean,
normal
like you said, she just dropped it off to the baseline. I don't,
just normal basketball stuff. If the rep is that butthurt about that, then he needs to go get therapy or something because there's nothing that bad that she did. So,
yeah.
like I said, it was a great game. LSU got talked about a lot with having a pretty easy non-conference schedule, losing to South Carolina. So
Yeah.
they showed out, man. They have great
Sure did.
players and a great team and a great coach.
Yep.
No matter how you feel about Mulkey, she's a great coach. She's one of the best in women's basketball. So, um, you couldn't ask for much more. That's just what you wanted for the women's Final Four in general is super exciting. I mean, those games were great,
They
especially the
were.
Iowa and South Carolina, right? So,
Right.
um, nothing more you can wish for. WNBA starts decently soon, so I tune into that. There's some really good players in that. Asia Wilson out in Vegas. She just teamed up with Candace Park. Asia Wilson's been the MVP for the last 2 seasons. She's a really good player. So go
Yeah.
check those people out, and it should be good for them again.
Yeah. And to get back to it, I don't think it should have been a technical foul. It shouldn't have been called. It didn't make the difference in a game. I don't think one call could ever make a difference in a 17-point game. But again, LSU wins it 102-85, takes home the title. Aidan, speaking of 17-point games, the men's national
Yeah,
championship, man. What happened in this one? UConn just completely
UConn,
dominated San Diego State.
UConn, UConn. It's pretty simple. They're just more talented. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's just tough because San Diego State plays a brand of basketball where um, they're really good defensively on a low scoring game. If
Hmm.
another team's making shots, they really can't keep up in that way. They're not obviously like a great scoring team.
Right.
When it got to 70, that's when I said it was over.
Yeah.
Obviously, San
Same.
Diego State went on a run, cut it to 5. Um, I think it was 60-55.
For the
And then,
record, that was after I said it was over watching the game, and I was like, here we
yeah,
go again, man. Look what I did.
yeah.
I did it again. But yeah.
And then UConn kind of pulled away again. So, um, they got UConn has NBA players. Jordan
Yes.
Hawkins, as you see on the screen, he's going to be, I mean, he comes off screen, shoots, defends. So,
Yeah.
um, so I just don't think San Diego State had the guys
No.
to compete. Um,
They
they really should
fought.
have
I mean,
lost.
they kept it close for as long as they could.
Yeah, they really should have lost to Florida Atlantic. I think
Yeah.
UConn was easily the best team in the it left in the Final Four, and
Yeah.
they proved that. So, what do you think of it?
Yeah, they were the most complete team. I think with Sonogo in the middle and like you said, Hawkins, it just San Diego State wasn't really. I don't think they were really built to beat a team that had more than like 2.5 legitimate scoring options, right? Like if you have a
Yeah,
third guy that can score out there, I think there's only so much rotational defense you can really, as
no
a
doubt.
team that's undersized like San Diego State was, you can't get to everybody. And like you said, when a team's knocking down shots, um, what do? You can't be everywhere. You can't stop Sonogo in the middle. You can't, defend a team that's just hitting shots on the perimeter sometimes. I mean, that's just how it goes.
Yeah,
And they kind of had both things going on, and they hit all their free throws down the stretch, and kind of a snoozer. Unfortunately, it didn't ever really feel close. San Diego State, like you said, made that little run late, but again, they're not a volume scoring team. It just felt like UConn was going to withstand that, and they did. I mean, they move on. They won their 5th title. All since 1999.
yeah.
So
They've never lost in a national championship game.
yeah, that's pretty wild. 10-1 overall in Final Four.
Yeah, 10-1 in the Final Four. So if they get there, they're probably going to win it all.
Yeah, if they get there, they're a smart bet. And I think that makes them more likable. We have an issue with sometimes with the blue bloods, especially Duke. It seems like Duke's always in the Elite Eight, Final Four, Elite Eight, Final, right? They're always there.
Yeah,
That gets annoying. But a team like UConn can go away for a couple of years, and then they come back and they're in the Final Four. You're like, oh yeah, remember Khalid El Amin? Remember, like whatever. Remember Hashim Tabit? Like you're like
yeah,
Kemba Walker. Like you remember these guys fondly because they're there for a year or two, and then maybe they cycle down for a year or two, but they always seem to come back.
Oh yeah.
5 titles since 1999. Do you consider, are they blue blood or new blood? What are they? I mean, what do we call UConn?
I think they lie somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
They've been good for a long time. It's just
Yeah.
they've gotten too close. But it's hard to call them like they're not elite status though because they're kind of the LSU of college basketball, where like they just disappear for a few years and then they'll come back and win a national championship and then disappear
Yeah.
for a few years. I
Yeah.
think
And then you look at a team. You brought up LSU, and it's a great comparison. You look at a team sometimes like LSU when they're back up, and you're like, how does this team ever really just go away?
no
I mean, it
doubt.
seems like LSU is always monstrous in football. I know that's not what we're talking about, but I think that's a great comparison.
Yeah. I just think it's like if you want to be a blue blood, you have to be consistently Sweet 16 at least.
Yeah.
Sweet 16, Elite 8. And they're not there every year. They don't make the tournament every year. So I think it's hard
Yeah.
to call him a blue blood. Maybe they get to that point with Hurley. I think he's a really good coach. Hopefully
Yeah.
he recruits well. So we'll see what happens. But I think they should have some things going for him now. I don't
Yeah.
know if Hawkins will come back. I think if he comes back, he could be a lottery pick. So
Yeah.
I would think he would come back, but you never know. So we'll
Never
see.
know.
But you talked about it being a snooze fest, kind of. The ratings weren't that great for this game.
No, they weren't.
Do you think it had something to do? No blue bloods in it. No team to really root against. I mean,
Yeah.
with like San Diego State, kind of beats all these 1 seeds or 2 seeds, and they hit a buzzer beater to go to the national championship. Let's root for those guys. But
Yeah.
you do so many underdog stories, it kind of becomes boring at some point.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Um. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, 14.6 million viewers for this one, which I don't know if you know, it made it the least watched men's national championship game in recorded history. So,
Yeah,
ouch. Maybe there was a little bit of a hangover from the women's national championship. I mean, that was a lot to process. Also, it happened on a Monday night. I don't know if that really makes a difference or not. Always happens on a Monday night. It's not like it's different, but would you get more viewers on a Saturday night than you would a Monday night? I don't know. I have no idea.
I think it'd be on more TVs, like at bars and stuff. But
Yeah, for sure. I think you'd have more eyes on it. I don't know if they'd be measurable eyes because you just have, maybe 50 or 60 more people in the bar. I
right.
don't know if you can really, if that's a
And it was
measurable metric,
the
you
game was
know.
at 9:20,
Yeah,
so
right. Right.
people are
I mean,
going to sleep.
my kids are in bed by, almost an hour before that.
Right.
So that's a lot of people that don't really get to interact or engage with that. But I also think it's what you said. I mean, UConn's not really a blue blood. They don't really have that blue blood type following, right? The national following that like a Kentucky or a Duke might have. Or, like you said, on the contrary, that national following of people that want to see them go down, like Kentucky or Duke might have. And then I think for the most part, the casual fan goes, San Diego who? I don't think anybody they don't realize that maybe San Diego State's had a really good, 3 or 4 year run. I mean, we talked about it before. They were 30-2 during the COVID year. Probably would have been maybe the number 1 overall seed and had a great shot to win a title that year if the tournament had happened. But
No doubt.
yeah, I think the casual fan just goes, I'm not watching UConn blow San Diego State out. I mean, I don't think UConn, did they even win a game by less than, I think their lowest margin of victory was 13 points in the tournament.
Yeah, it was like 13 or 14 points. They didn't lose an out of conference game, so
Yeah.
I mean, they were a really good team. I think they just went through a lull middle of the season. They were ranked number 2 in the country at one point. So
Yeah.
I,
Yeah, they got off to a hot start. Listen, Connecticut winters have to be hard, right? Maybe that plays into it. I mean, maybe they just got a little bored. I mean, I think sometimes when you're a great team, and you've got a long regular season ahead of you, like i.e. the Cavs, 2017, 2018, there were times when we talked about like, can this team even get back to the finals? Like they look horrible, and then they would turn it on, right at playoff time. And it kind of looks like UConn might have been that kind of a team. I mean, they might have just maybe gotten a little disenchanted with the regular season and, hey, we're a really good team. We're going to start off 14-1. We're getting into the tournament. Does it really matter if you're a 2, 3, or a 4 seed? I don't think it matters anymore. I mean, we had all kinds of crooked numbers in the Final Four.
I think it's more ebbs and flows for college players because they're mentally, just up and down a little bit more
Yeah.
than NBA players. I think
Yeah.
for like the Cavs, like you said, it was just like one guy had a switch that other guys didn't have,
Yeah.
and he would turn it on when it was playoff
Mhm.
time, and
Yep.
then it was like, oh, okay, yeah, we're going to the finals.
Yeah.
That,
Right.
that was what it was really. But I think it's important to
We got the
Brian.
yeah. I mean, Essence agrees. He said, "Yeah, that was really boring. I switched back to Monday Night Raw."
Yeah.
Listen, I don't blame you. And for
I
what it's
heard the
worth, I
raw.
heard that was actually one of the worst.
Yeah, I heard the
Uh,
Raw Monday night was one of the worst after WrestleMania ever.
yeah.
Um,
What was going on with Monday night sporting
I don't
events, man?
know.
What happened here?
Must want to get Roman Reigns at 1,000 days and all that stuff.
Something's got to happen. But yeah, I think like you said, to sum that up, I think you said it best. Just the viewership wasn't there because it's just UConn versus San Diego State. I think a lot of people felt like it was going to be a blowout. I'm sure San Diego State fans, whoever they may be, probably just alumni of the school, maybe the random Tony Gwynn fan or whatever. But yeah, I just think they felt like it was not really a game worth watching, and I don't know. I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, it really wasn't. I don't know. It just wasn't that exciting to me.
It wasn't. It wasn't exciting. It was
Yeah,
like, okay, UConn comes out in the first half. Oh, they're way better than this team. Dominate.
yeah,
Okay, kind of gets close. Ooh, okay, we have a game.
right.
Oh, they turned it back on. Game
Just like
over.
that. Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
just like someone snapped their fingers and they went on a 9-0 run right there, and it was over. That was it.
it was over with.
Yeah,
And you know, there's nothing you can really do about that. There's nothing San Diego State can do. I think they definitely overachieved with the roster they had.
for sure.
Um,
Yeah.
Great season by them. Great season by all the teams in the Final Four.
Yes.
Obviously, FAU, the 9 seed. I heard Will Compton talking about on Bussing with the Boys like it was a fluke that happened. Blah blah blah. All this stuff. Obviously, he doesn't watch college basketball to keep up with anything. FAU is 30-3, so
Yeah.
going in. So I mean,
Yeah. It's
watch a little bit before you talk about something, maybe, but that would be good, I think.
yeah.
Um, but it's fine. I like Miami. Awesome. You never see Miami University, the U, and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. But it
Love
got
it.
kind of boring. You don't see it. You don't have a Duke to root against or root for. You don't have a Kentucky to root against or root for. There's no Coach K. There's still Coach Cal,
Yeah.
but it's just like it's a little different now.
Yeah. It doesn't feel the same. It feels like teams are a little more. They're a little longer cooked now. It's not the one and done stuff where it's like it gets old every year because it's like a bunch of 18, 19-year-old kids in the finals. And yeah, I think that's good for college basketball, but it obviously wasn't good for the viewership. So
No doubt.
I don't know. Well, maybe it takes Kentucky and Kansas in there next year. I have no idea what it's going to take.
Hopefully,
but yeah, we'll
can't
see.
pick Kansas twice in a row and then not make it to the Final Four.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm never picking Purdue again. We know that.
You should have never picked them.
No, it's never going to happen again, man.
It's okay. It's okay. I told you it was not good. You didn't listen to me.
You hit me with the boiler up again. I don't ever want to hear that boiler up again. I'm done with that. Let's actually move on. Let's move on to a completely different sport.
Uh-oh.
I like baseball, man.
Oh boy. No, I'm just
Let's
kidding.
talk about our Guardians. The Guardians.
Our Guardians. I thought you were a Braves guy.
Well, listen, man. This is a Cleveland show. I can be our Guardians while I'm on the air. I can
I'm just
relate to
playing
people
with
while I'm here talking to you guys, right?
I'm just playing with you.
Yeah, I am a Braves fan, but it depends. If I think I definitely root for the Guardians in the AL. I don't, I don't think I necessarily have a problem with having two teams.
No doubt.
If they ever play each other, I may have a problem because my wife's a huge Guardians fan, huge Cleveland fan, and
Yeah.
so much so that I've told you guys before off the show, I'm not even allowed to talk about 1995 in our house. Like I don't even know if I can say she's not here. She's at work right now.
Where you're sleeping.
Yeah, right, exactly, right, exactly. But yeah, the Guardians, they lost the opener. Okay, no big deal. It's people get so up and down about opening day in baseball. You lose, and it's like, okay, well, we're going 2-160 or whatever. But no, they're off to a 4-2 start. I think that's that's obviously a good pace to keep. I mean, on a road trip, if they can, they've got Oakland today. I think they've got one more with Oakland today at around 3:30. You're gonna have Hunter Gaddis on the mound for that one. I think that's a win that, Oakland's not a great team, obviously.
No doubt.
There won't be the problem with the large crowd, in Karinchak's head for the pitch clock. So
Well, it didn't matter last night.
No, it didn't matter. Didn't matter. Um, yeah, he's not off to a great start, is he? With that, that's
My
a
God,
you
that
never
kid,
want to like talk about ERAs too much in the early season, but man, a 12 looks funny next to a guy,
he
right?
looks, but he just looks out of sorts right now.
Yeah,
He just looks
yeah,
like he's not ready to play.
yeah. You
And
wonder what that
it's
is. I
not that he's
mean,
not ready to play. It's that like, oh, I'm not ready for the pitch clock. But
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. He's scaring me a little bit right now. Hopefully he finds it.
I get it, man. Athletes are creatures of habit anyway, and
Yeah.
especially pitchers. The way that and maybe not so much a bullpen guy, but maybe uh, starting pitchers especially. And this is what I know. I was a starting pitcher. You have your certain way that you like to warm up and get ready for a game, and you have your all your time points kind of mapped out, right? Like when you need to be stretching, when you need to throw, when you need to like throw that last pitch off the bullpen mound or whatever. Um, and when it gets thrown off, it can be a little disconcerting. I'll give you that,
Yeah.
but I do think that you also have to be mentally tough enough to get over that. I mean, the bottom line is you got to throw strikes and get people out. You have to be ready to do that, right? I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't know. I don't know what could be going into Karinchak's struggles. I mean, it
But
seems like they're not physical because the stuff that he has
oh,
is absolutely
it's
electric. I mean, it's not like he's just throwing a pus ball up there, at 85
ridiculous.
miles an hour like me or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I just what is his deal right now?
I think he's a big mental guy. Like
Yeah,
that's what it comes down to for him. I think he's just if it's going bad, it's gonna go really bad for James Karinchak. There's no
yeah,
in between for him. Um, but like I don't know. I feel like to act surprised about the pitch clock, like you didn't know it was coming. Like it seems like he's surprised out there when the pitch clock. So he's like, oh, it's like you knew this was happening since the off season. Like you had time to prepare,
yeah.
figure stuff out. So I think he just needs to be better, man. Because if he's not pitching our eighth inning, I don't know who is. I
I
really don't.
don't either. I mean, we've talked about it before. I don't know in the playoffs, and they'll settle into these roles. Hopefully, by the time that they get there, if they make the playoffs, you would think they would. I think they'll win the division. We said it on the show last week, but I just don't know who settles into those sixth and seventh inning roles because, I mean, you know how it is. Baseball is different. You don't really have a starter, especially in October, going 8 innings anymore. You just don't see it. Even in the cases where a guy's been dominant, I mean, we've had guys pulled with no hitters in the playoffs because you want to get a fresh look. You don't want them to go back to the lineup a third time, whatever. Even if they've been extremely effective. So yeah, if they don't have guys that can settle into those sixth and seventh inning roles, and then on top of that, Karinchak's gonna, kind of, you know, blow up the eighth inning. Can we even get the Class A in the ninth? I mean,
Yeah,
what's gonna happen there?
yeah. Well, we got Ben saying Stefan is our new eighth inning guy.
Maybe he is. Maybe he
His
is.
stuff is good. Um, it's just tough because Karen Check's stuff is just disgusting if he's on, man.
Yeah. Do you think he's mentally unable to wrap his head around being an eighth inning guy? Do you think he wants to be the closer? He wants to be that guy that
No, because he was good last year,
yeah, yeah,
especially the second half of last year. I think
yeah,
he's just mentally like not processing the pitch clock well,
yeah,
and that's hard for me to understand because you had all off season to process it.
yeah.
So
Well, maybe he just needs, a little bit of time.
a
No
little
pun
bit of
intended, but
time,
yeah,
but who's pitching today is replacing a guy that we have
yeah,
maybe our best pitcher to some.
yeah. I think so.
Um,
I think so.
Tristan McKenzie's been out. He's going to
Yeah.
continue to be out.
How long
Um,
can they go without him?
well, they're going to have to go like 2 months.
It's gonna be, yeah, it's gonna
Um,
be bad. I listen. I This team looks different without McKenzie in the starting rotation, right?
yeah,
Um, I still think they can win the Central, but I do think it's harder. I think that overlooking the way that scheduling is now done in Major League Baseball is maybe done at the Guardians' peril here. They're going to have a tough time winning that division without McKenzie because they don't have the huge offload of games against the AL Central, which is kind of historically weak, right?
Hmm.
Or at least for right now, this time period, it's weak. Um, they're gonna have to find a guy, and I don't know if it's gonna be Hunter. I don't know who it's gonna be, but they're gonna have to find someone who can step into that role that McKenzie was in. For unfortunately, I think maybe it could be close to 2 months here, like you said. Um, he was actually diagnosed with a right teres major strain, and
Okay, doctor.
yeah, right. Yeah, I've been learning, man. I've been trying to read some medical journals. I've been doing my research, as they say, right?
Oh
But
wow.
yeah, I've been trying to read up a little bit on it, and it can be a pretty nagging injury. I mean, it almost reminds me of reading about it. Reminds me of Jackson Smith and Jigba with the Buckeyes and the hamstring.
Yeah.
It's one of those injuries that it's definitely exacerbated by throwing. Almost immediately, we were just kind of reading up on the doctor that I was reading the paper from, and they had done a study where they had guys throw like 45 pitches off a mound, and so the teres major muscle, I think we can show you. It's in the back of the shoulder. It's there. It is right there. You see the little spot shadow, little red circle. Um, it's one of the thicker muscles in the shoulder. It's not part of the rotator cuff. It's not one of the muscles that's lucky enough to be included in the rotator cuff for whatever reason. But it is responsible for internal rotation or adduction. So it's a tough muscle to strengthen. It's a tough muscle to stretch, but it's a really easy muscle to injure. And a lot of shoulder pain, I didn't realize this. A lot of shoulder pain is kind of attributed to maybe not, the teres major injury so much, but just overuse, overwork, whatever, not stretching it enough, not strengthening enough. But anyway, yeah, after 45 pitches off a mound, this doctor had seen significant changes in guys, internal rotation, like measurable, changes in their internal rotation just after 45 pitches off a mound. So it's a muscle that definitely takes a beating. Um, and you just kind of hope the Guardians don't take too many beatings while McKenzie's out nursing it. What do you see any options for them, and what do they do now?
Do I see any options? Obviously, they're going with Gaddis right now. I'm not the
Mhm.
biggest fan of Gaddis. Um, he
He's
was
a
kind
big
of like
guy. I mean,
he was a kind of a meatball thrower last year.
yeah,
Um, I like Curry. I like what he's shown in his one start last year and what he showed out the bullpen this year. But obviously, that's a small sample size. We need to see more.
yeah,
Um, but obviously, we got to approach this thing with caution because McKenzie can be a Cy Young level guy, and if
hmm
you ruin that, trying to bring him back too fast, I think you're doing everybody, not like him, his family, and your franchise a disservice because you're cheating yourself out of years of ace pitching at the end of the
yeah,
day. So you have to be careful.
yeah,
I hope he gets back soon enough. I
yes,
know it could be a little while, but I've seen that guy throw some gems. I was at the game he threw against the Yankees last year, where he went eight, I believe, with one hit. So
yeah,
um, he's a little bit of a different guy.
yep,
When he's on, I don't know too many guys stuff that is better. So
yeah. He lacks a little bit of the consistency that would make him a top tier ace in the majors, but he's got the stuff for it. When he's on, we've said it before. He's almost unhittable. I mean, he's
yeah,
lights out when he's locating his pitches.
he's special.
And I think he hides the ball well. And sometimes when guys are like long and lanky like that, it's a lot of knees and elbows coming at you, and all of a sudden the ball's like on you. You know what I mean? It's like in the hitting zone. You don't even have time to swing. But yeah, I think that obviously the Guardians are going to miss him incredibly. But unfortunately, like I said, I mean, it's just an injury that requires a lot of rest and a lot of attention to it. I mean, he's going to have to keep stretching, strengthening, resting, icing, all that good stuff that, trust me, frustrates a pitcher. I mean, you want to throw, it's I mean, it's like the first week of the season, and he's already on the, and I'm not disparaging him. I know he's upset about it. It's got to be, just a terrible feeling to watch your guys, go into the first week of the season and there's nothing you can do until, I don't know, maybe June. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like
Ben,
Ben
we
said,
do
so here
have.
Ben's like, yeah, and the
Yeah,
Guardians have,
we do.
a ton of prospects in the minors. I mean, maybe it's time to see what guys have, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's early enough in the season. I mean, the Braves have done this the last couple of years. They've gotten, kind of dug themselves a hole and gotten behind the Mets, and then come back and they've found a way to win the division or whatever. Sometimes last year it took until the very last day of the season, but I don't know if the Guardians are necessarily built to have the big comeback from 8 or 10 games down. But I think they have some time here in the first few weeks to kind of see what guys
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
Maybe
I
put them
def-
into major league situations and just see what kind of strain it puts on them.
yeah, I think they should definitely see what a guy has from the
Mm-hmm.
minors. It's tough to say, but you got to see what guys have. I don't think Hunter
Yeah,
Gaddis is really a long term option to
yeah,
me, the way he
yeah,
looks. So maybe you give one of the guys that is a long term option a look.
yeah,
So we'll have to see what happens. It's
yeah.
always tough because you want to develop guys the right way and not bring them up and kill their confidence. But we'll
Right.
see.
Well, and
Um,
teams are so obsessed with having team control, having control over a guy for however many years.
no doubt.
Also, you don't want to use up all these guys' options, like, shuttle them up and down between, AAA or AA or wherever in the majors. You don't want to, because that's how guys end up out of the organization. And then they,
Right.
come back to bite you somewhere else,
No
down the
doubt.
line. But yeah, I think as much as you can, I think it's time to maybe put these guys into some major league situations. And I don't know, maybe baseball does the thing where we have the expanded September call ups. Um, I don't know, maybe we're changing so many rules in baseball. Maybe we can look into a thing where for the first month of the season, maybe a team can more freely shuttle their guys up and down without using options or something. I don't know. I mean, I'm just spitballing here, trying to throw out things that may work, but I think that Ben makes a great point.
Yeah,
17 players made their
Ben's
debut last
dropping
year under
gems.
Tito.
Ben's dropping gems.
Yeah, Ben
Um,
is dropping just knowledge on us right now.
um,
Yeah, Ben trusts Tito. I think everybody trusts Tito, and that's the thing about the injury I was going to mention too with McKenzie. You trust Francona to handle it the right way. He's nothing if he's not a player's manager, right?
no doubt.
And
And we're
I
still
think he
looking for
always
the guy that
errs on
stole his
that side
moped.
of taking care of his players, taking care of the guys in the clubhouse, making sure they're comfortable, happy, whatever. So I know Francona won't rush him back, and I don't think the Guardians are really an organization that's going to do that to McKenzie.
Yeah.
No,
And
you
like I said,
protect
we're
your
still
investment.
looking for the guy that stole Tito's moped.
Yeah, he got it back. He got it
Well, I know
back.
he
I
got
don't
it
know.
back. We gonna get
Never,
it
it's
back.
never the same when somebody takes it though. It never
We gonna
feels
get
like
it
yours
back for you,
again.
Tito. Don't worry. We gonna get something else back. We gonna get you a car or something.
Yeah, we'll get him a trophy to ride around town. You know what I
But
mean? Maybe.
yeah. But before we get off,
Hmm.
obviously, right behind me,
Yes.
um, some big stuff going on. My sport, more my sport. Obviously, I love baseball. Love to talk
Yeah.
about it with Chad, but Cavs got 50 wins, baby.
50
Locked up the
wins.
4 seed, home court advantage in Cleveland. I
Man.
think if you would rank the experiences going to games, um, Cleveland Cavaliers playoff basketball, how intense the fans are and how locked in they are for the whole game is probably top tier in the city.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun. Um, I'm just really excited, man. We have a super young team.
Yeah.
Our stars, our young guys are going to be playing a lot of minutes in the playoffs, obviously.
Yep.
Going to have a tough series against the Knicks, though. They're a good team.
Absolutely.
Hopefully, I would say Cavs in 6.
Okay.
But actually, no. Here's how I'd rank it. I'd probably go rank from most likely to least likely. I'd probably say Cavs in Cavs in 5, Cavs in 7, Knicks in 6, Knicks in 7, Cavs in 6, Cavs in 4. Hot take, either rounds.
Okay.
Okay.
That was a lot
Ben,
of numbers to process, but I'm with you. I'm with you.
um, Ben, that is a hot take because they
It's,
got to beat
it's a
either.
fire take.
They got if they get past the first round, they got to either beat Philly, Boston, or Milwaukee. I don't
Hmm.
know about all that this year.
I'm not sure they have the experience to get through any of those teams, but we'll see. I
Yeah,
mean, I don't want to. We'll
especially
see.
hey, if we see Milwaukee and guys see the best player in the world, I I love the Cavs, but what Giannis will do to Jared Allen and Evan Mobley he will be on Cleveland's most wanted list. Okay, I
Yeah.
love them. Evan Mobley's got to gain some weight before we can put him in front of Giannis for a whole playoff series because that boy is going to be battered and bruised after two
Yeah.
games.
Oh yeah.
So um, we'll see what happens, but I think if we don't get out of the first round, it's a failure of a season to me. Um, a 50 win season. I do think before we get off, I'd like to say I think this team overachieved.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's fair.
some people were saying 6, 7 seed, maybe still playing even after we got Donovan Mitchell,
Yeah.
45 wins. We're 50 wins in the 4 seed. In a different year, we'd probably be playing for the third or second seed if we win the last 2 games, going 52 and 30. Um, I think that would be definitely in the cards for us.
Yeah.
Now we get to rest guys because we're locked into our seed. We don't really have nothing left to prove. If you got any sort of nick or bruise, right, just
Mhm.
sit it out for the last couple. Um, this is the first time we've won 50 games without LeBron since 92, 93.
Yes.
I was not even a thought back then. 7 years before I was born. So,
Yeah.
um, I just, I have a lot of fun watching this Cavs team.
Yep.
People enjoy it because there's going to be expectations. I know there's a lot of fans that are like, oh, after a game, they have a lot of complaints or anything. Listen, man, this team's going to start getting older, and then the pressure is really going to come for them to win a title. So
Yeah.
enjoy these moments right now when they're young because the pressure is going to be there and the nitpicking is going to come. Just let this season be what it is. I mean, you got
Yeah.
Darius Garland at 23, you got Evan at 21,
Yep. Yeah.
Garrett 24, Donovan's 26, you got Isaac Young at 22, I believe. So
So they're so young. They're so
just
young.
let it be,
Yeah.
and we'll figure it out as we go. But
And I think
hopefully,
this should be fun. This should be the first series or the first round, that series with the Knicks. It'll be fun to watch this year. Like you said, enjoy it because in 2 years, I think the first round is going to be incredibly stressful because it's going to be like, okay, if we lose, this is a massive failure, right? Like,
yeah,
so yeah,
I
just
think,
enjoy the ride. Let them develop, let
yeah,
them grow, enjoy the talent. Just enjoy watching these kids, man.
yeah.
That's
You
it.
got to think. In 2 years, you know, um, beside Giannis, Milwaukee, Middleton's already 31 and Drew's 30, I believe, or close
Yeah.
to it, 31 maybe.
Yeah.
Um, Embiid's 29 with injury history. Harden might not be back. He's older.
Yeah.
So we should be competing for top 3 seed at least in the East. Obviously, Boston could be there for a while, but you never
Yeah.
know because the way Jalen Brown's been talking about stuff, it doesn't seem like he's long term in Boston.
Yeah. Maybe
Um,
not.
um, yeah, that is true, Ben. Both the Cavs and the Guardians
Yeah.
uh, have time to build.
Yep.
But you never know when your best chance is until it's gone. So you got to also be happy with the chances you get.
That's some good life advice too, right there, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, thanks, man. It's just
Look at you
hard.
kicking knowledge. You weren't even a thought in 92, 93,
I
but you're
know.
on the show
Hey,
kicking knowledge, man. I'm proud of you.
hey, 92, 93 basketball. Great time for Cavs fans, except for losing to Jordan both times. But that's fine. It
You'll
happens.
have that. Lots of people lost to Jordan,
Yeah.
but you'll have that.
Um,
You'll have that. Hey, listen, I really hope, like we said, enjoy watching these kids. It's the pressure is going to come, the Cavs and the Guardians. But for the time being, man, I hope you've enjoyed watching us kids, right? That's going to do it for today. I think it's time to get out of here. We're almost 45 minutes
yeah.
in. Aidan, great show as always. Essence, Ben, man, I appreciate the comments. You guys staying engaged, keeping us,
Yeah.
with some extra stuff to talk about here. Ben with the hot take. I don't know, man. I don't know about getting the conference finals, but hey, we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see. Maybe we'll put
Shout
him on the
out,
show next
shout
week.
out
Maybe
Byron for
maybe
producing.
that'll be prophetic. We'll never know.
Yeah.
We
Shout out
don't know.
Byron for producing.
Yeah, shout out to Byron for producing the show. We appreciate all you guys, and we appreciate you guys, our viewers. Like I said, that's it, man. We'll see you next week. Aidan,
Hey,
say
see you
goodbye to
guys
the
later,
people.
man. I'll see you guys later. Chad, great show, man.
Great show as always. See you guys.